welcome. It is Sunday, and that means I'm reading your comments. Today I'm reading all your comments about your most awkward experiences at a sleepover. But before we begin that, I'm going to ask you a question for a future episode, and that question for a future episode is, what was the reason you got in trouble at school and sent to detention / or principal's office? If you ever were sent out of class for any reason whatsoever, put that down in the comments. Everyone wants to know and laugh at your pain. I'm with your pain. I'm just kidding. Okay, let's begin. I had my ex-friend over and I wanted to go to bed, and I walked into my bro's room to tell him I was going to bed, and she was making out with him and they were dating without telling me when I said I was going to bed, and she said she was going into my bro's room to play video games and started to make out with him. Like, who does that? So I was at a sleepover with 2 more friends and we went to sleep at about 3 a.m. in the morning. They told me how loud I was farting while sleeping. They also told me that they were really smelly. I am still their friend, but I try to avoid sleepovers. One time I was at a sleepover and my friend has a really big dog. And when I woke up the next morning, he was on top of me. I could barely breathe, and it took almost 20 minutes to wake her up. The weirdest thing that happened to me at a sleepover was when I called my mom and she said, "Bye, boo." And my dad in the background said, "I love boo boo." And then my friend said, "If dad calls me booger." I was at my friend's house having a sleepover, and when I was asleep, I dreamed that I was in heaven, and then my friends woke me up. They said I was not moving at all and I looked like I was dead. True story. It was my best friend's birthday, so we had a sleepover at his place. We decided to sleep in the tent, except the tent was set up in the lounge. In the middle of the night, I woke up and he was hugging and kissing me saying, "I love you, Emma." I told him in the morning and he was super embarrassed. He was in love with Emma Watson, Hermione Granger at the time. So I was at my friend's house and her older brother was also having a sleepover at the time. So the girls were downstairs and the boys were upstairs. The guys wanted to scare us. They put on masks and turned off the power to the house. I ended up jumping in my friend's arms and screaming, "I feel like a scaredy cat." So I had a sleepover with my friend, and it was the first time he had seen my house because I just moved into it. So anyways, he saw my balcony and he said he would give me $100 if I jumped off of it into my pool. So I did, and I hit my face on the concrete at the bottom of the pool and I got a concussion. He only gave me $30. I also have a giant scar on my eye. The tragicness that is that comment. I'm so sorry for you. You are owed $70, friend. I've never been featured in one of these. I hope I get picked. Anyways, the most embarrassing thing that happened to me at a sleepover was at my friend's dad's house, and I woke up with my period. I didn't have anything because it was my first one. It gets worse. So I went into the bathroom to put on a fresh pair of underpants and put toilet paper in them. As I was doing this, my friend's brother's friend, who also had been there over at the time, walked in on me and stood there. So I slammed the door on his face. He was 2 years older than me. The next time I saw him, it was really awkward. I can only imagine how awkward that was. Wow. The fact that every time I went to my ex-BFF's sleepover, she would always argue with her mom. Every sleepover it was about a different thing, and all I could do is stand there awkwardly. The most awkward moment at a sleepover I have had was when my friend came into the bedroom with no pants on, but only big leaves covering around the parts. And she said, "I'm sorry, I wanted to embrace a monkey experience." I don't know what life is anymore. Well, I had to get up and go to the bathroom, and I walked to get a drink of water. In the bathroom, there was this thing on the bottom of the side of the wall that I thought was something to detect criminals, so I stayed in the same spot for about 30 minutes until I was finally brave enough to step over it. In the bathroom? The weirdest thing to happen to me on a sleepover was when it was about 1 a.m. and my friend randomly stood up and turned directly at me, started breathing really hard, yelled, and laid back down. He was still asleep. The sleepover was at my house, and I woke up to go to the bathroom, but another kid must have been spying on me because I walked in and he started cracking up and says, "I saw your moon." At sleepover, my friends and I were playing Xbox when my friend got mad, threw the controller at the ground and almost broke it. Me being tired, I was weird and I gave him a timeout in the corner. He actually went. And in the morning, he woke up in the corner and I didn't even feel bad. We were all 13-year-old boys. You gave your own friend a timeout. Oh my gosh, that is the best thing I've ever heard. I was at my friend's sleepover for her birthday and my other friend was pulling me down the stairs and I pushed her with my foot and she slid down and almost broke her big toe and we were still friends. I was at my friend's house and her mom was at work and we started hearing noises and every time I got up, I would turn on all the lights to where we were going and found out it was just her dog. Well, I went to a friend's sleepover and their dog peed on my sleeping bag. We found out when it was the morning, so I could have been sleeping in dog pee the entire night. No one smelled or noticed it till I said something. Ew! I was dancing on a wooden floor and fell on my face and broke my nose. It was fun. Walked in on my best friend's grandma showering. She still doesn't know. But you do, and I bet you'll never forget it. My friend started to talk in her sleep, and then she started to sleepwalk. I was at my friend Jaden's house for his birthday. This one kid, Thomas, flung the frisbee on top of the house. So, being the dumb kid I was, I threw an empty beer bottle at the frisbee to try and knock it down. Long story short, I had to pay for that broken window. My awkward sleepover was with my friend. She put salt on my arm and tried to put ice on it. I backslapped her and got salt in her mouth and eyes. I haven't gone to her house since. At one sleepover, I got an ice cube stuck to my tongue and I didn't know what to do. Instead of just letting it melt, my friend and her mom took me to the bathtub and ripped it off. There was blood all over the tub. Oh, what? Just let it melt, yo! When I ate way too much candy and sugar, I love all things sweet. And then sadly, I threw up. It was my 13th birthday sleepover party and it was nighttime. About 11:30 and I invited 3 girls over. All of them were 13. When we were about to go to sleep, my mom barged in the room saying, "Who wants to learn about tampons?" Those girls never came to my house again. My most awkward moment at a sleepover is when my friend thought it would be funny to prank call her ex in a fake voice, but then she accidentally called her teacher. The teacher was a girl and she was playing a boy and then said, "Hey, sexy." My friend and I were having a sleepover and I had a dream about war and apparently was shouting about eyeballs and livers. Yeah, we haven't had many sleepovers after that, lol. I was at a sleepover and we were prank calling people. I didn't know who we were calling. I was told it was someone's sister who I had never met before. I said, "This is Pizza Hut's owner." I was going to say a random name like Charlie Smith, then my sister said Chloe, my name. The phone was on speaker. I was so embarrassed. When I was on a sleepover with my 2 friends, we had to sleep in the same bed. Well, I woke up at 2 a.m. and I noticed that I had to pee. Of course, I went to the bathroom, but when I came back, my friend had rolled around so much that there was no space for me on the bed. I spent the rest of the night walking around my friend's apartment, and at some point, I managed to scratch my leg on something and started bleeding heavily. I had to clean up the blood before anyone woke up. Oh, what? I was having a sleepover with my cousins and their dog peed on my sleeping bag and I thought they were trying to wake me up because it was warm. I was at a sleepover birthday party with my best friends when we decided it would be good to play truth or dare with everyone. It came to this girl's turn and she was like, "Who is the most attractive person in this room?" She turned and looked at me with a suggestive smile. When I woke up in the morning, she was still staring at me. I never felt more awkward. When I was at a sleepover and my 2 other friends jumped on me in the middle of the night, then silence. The most awkward sleepover I had was when I went downstairs after and I went to the bathroom and tripped on a handrail all the way down the stairs. Then I fell on my friend and immediately I said, "Sup?" He looked at me and slapped me and then woke everyone up. I fell asleep and fell off my bed on my friend. I was sleeping over at my friend Jessica's house and her bed was a mess and it could only fit 1 person. We tried to make it work because she refused to clean off her bed. I ended up sleeping on a makeshift bed which was my suitcase and her chair. It was awkward and painful. She really didn't want to clean up her bed so she made you sleep on your suitcase? That friend is lazy. Well, we were playing truth or dare and if you refused a dare you had to lick the toilet seat. Ugh! My crush was dared to kiss me on the cheek or lips. He chose the toilet seat. No! That must have been the worst day ever. My friend was sleeping over and we didn't have a mattress for her, so we had to sleep in the same bed. Her hair was in my face and in my mouth. I didn't sleep that night. I've never had a sleepover. My parents are very overprotective. I was having a sleepover with my friend. Let's call him Carl. When he went up to get a snack, I shifted my legs so that I was more comfortable. When he came back, he somehow tripped over my legs and on top of me. I looked like we were about to make out. Awkwardest part was my sister was there to witness all of it. When the siblings witness something awkward, they'll never let you live it down. I was at a slumber party with a bunch of my friends and we were just settling down for the night when we heard this really freaky scream. My friend got her dad and we walked upstairs where the screeching was. So it kept getting worse, and when we reached the study upstairs, we found a screech owl in the corner. It was just sitting there screeching. Weird. That is super weird. One time I stayed over at a friend's house because we were going to Disney World the next day. She and I slept on an air mattress out in the living room. When I woke up the next morning, she told me that in the middle of the night I woke up suddenly and asked, "Can I sleep here?" and then fell back asleep immediately after she said yes. It was at my friend's birthday sleepover and I never sleep talk. But apparently my friend's mother had come downstairs to check on us in the middle of the night. I don't know, it's a bit creepy, and I had been sleep talking and another girl had been sleep crawling up the stairs. Sleep crawling? Never heard of that before. So I was at a sleepover with my friend and I had just gotten in bed and her dad came in and said goodnight to us. And I said, "Good night, Dad, I love you." And after I said that, I realized it wasn't my dad and my face was bright red. So I dug my face into the pillow and cried myself to sleep. My most awkward time was at a kid's birthday party sleepover. And everyone was having fun, but then before we actually slept over, they all left for different reasons and I was the only one to stay the night. Also, the toy I bought the kid as a birthday present apparently broke like the next day. It was my sleepover for my birthday and my little brother's friend knocked over a stool and it hit the top of my big toe and nothing else, and it swelled up and was bleeding everywhere, so I got to go to ER at my sleepover. That stinks. Just in general, when you wake up before everyone else and just lie there awkwardly. I've always been a morning person, so this happened to me a lot. Yes, thank you, Johan. That happened to me all the time. Every time any sort of sleepover or like on vacation with family, I'm always just like awake and there's like 3 hours till everyone else wakes up and I'm just like, alright guys, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you give it a like and make sure you answer the question of the day. Why did you ever get sent to detention or the principal's office or get sent out of class? Let me know down in the comments below and I might read it for a future episode. Alright guys, high five.